JP motherfucking J. You know what I did this morning? I went and dropped my kids off at school. I went over to 7-Eleven, got myself wired on some cold brew. Not product play. This is free game, by the way. You want to go to Starbucks and get a nitro cold brew because it is the best. It's like the champagne of coffee, and pay $7 just to order it, and they probably pour it right away. By the time you get to the window, you pay $7 and change and get this flat cold brew because they poured it too soon. Anyways, you can go grab a big gulp, $1.99, same price as a soda. Dude, wrench that thing all the way up to the top. Boom, guzzle half of it, fill it up again, go to the front, and if you're in the South like me, they'll probably be like, is that all you got today? I said, yeah. And they'll say, you go on, honey, I got you. And I said, oh, thank you so much. Flash them a smile, come back, do it again tomorrow. Anyways, got wired, sat down in my office and watched every single play of JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, at his first start at center at his natural home in the NFL. And I liked what I saw. He looks like he's at home. He looks comfortable. I didn't see a single pressure. I didn't see a single mistake or a missed block or anything. It looked kind of like what we saw out of Luke Kuechly, his rookie year. I don't know if you guys remember, but Luke and I came in the same year. Great guy. I met him at the combine. People would always mistake us, and they'd be like, "Oh, you Luke," and they gave me all this like, they got a glimmer in their eyes, and I have to be like, "No, I'm Miles Burris. We kind of look alike, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool, good to meet you," and they kind of move on. Anyhow, so he started at will his rookie year. You can't keep that guy off the field. He's a natural Mike linebacker. Everybody knows that, but they had such a stud, and I feel terrible for forgetting his name right now. I almost had it. Anyways, stud middle linebacker, Beeson, was it maybe? I don't know. 52 for the Panthers, and he was amazing. And so they're like, well, let's just put Luke at will. And I can't remember what the circumstances that happened, but it wasn't long. It's like everybody knew, okay, Luke Kuechly is our middle linebacker of the future, but we got to keep him on the field, so he's a will. As soon as he steps into that middle linebacker role, he's essentially the best middle linebacker in the league. And it's what everybody knew, and he even had said, it just feels like I'm home at that position. It just feels comfortable and natural and instinctive and all the things. And I felt like that was Jackson Powers Johnson in this game. Stepped in there, did amazing. And yeah, it's just, we all kind of knew he's going to be the center of the future. He was the Remington Award winner in college, best college football center. And we draft him. And it's great that we have what we have in him, where he can play every single interior offensive lineman, but he's clearly a much better center than he is a guard. Now, I think that him playing guard, and especially starting at guard before getting his way over to play center, is something that's going to be very beneficial to him as a football player. It's going to help his pass blocking a whole lot, because think about this. One, he basically played center, I think, his whole career at Oregon. So center physically, it's a bit easier of a position. When you look at passing downs, especially, most of the time they're not going to have, even in a scheme where you've got a nose tackle like the Giants do in Dexter Lawrence. Oftentimes they're even going to split him out. They're going to have three techniques, and then wide rushers if you're rushing four, and then if they're going to rush somebody down the pipe, it'll be on a blitz or a stunt. The center has some time to snap it, get his head up and react. He's not going to be under duress right away, and that's an overgeneralization. But in general, it is physically not as tough as guard, and having these one-on-one situations and having these elite pass rushers right in your face every single play. But now that he's had a taste of that, so you go from college not having to really taste anything on the pass blocking outside of center to going to the highest level in the world, and only having that to start with is playing guard and doing best pass rushers in the world. What I'm saying is that's going to help his pass blocking a whole lot and make him that much more of a complete center. And that it's always nice to basically have depth. You have a backup guard no matter what happens. Now, you don't want to take him out of the center spot. It fits like a glove, and loved what I saw. Center can be harder mentally, though, for sure. I mean, they have a lot more that they're balancing, and it's probably a little more chaotic. They're having to, stay super tuned in with the quarterback on, timing and taps from other people and getting the snap if they're having to snap it between their legs and it go through the air and make sure everything's on point and then immediately get their heads up and check for stunts. It's a lot. And you're also coordinating and pointing out Mike linebackers and doing all these things and getting the offensive line synced up. But he's a super smart kid, and I don't worry about him with any of that, really. He's got that dog in him. I mean, we all know that. I love that, and I think really the only things that I think he can work on that I'm really excited, because these aren't even slights at all. He's in a great place, I think, in most every place as a football player, especially as a center. But if he can get his conditioning down even a little bit more, he's got that dog. But you know what can make a coward out of anybody is fatigue. Vince Lombardi says that can take the dog out of you a little bit. And I'm not saying I didn't see that, but I do see him huffing and puffing sometimes. And when he's not making those same effort plays that you see from him sometimes, running 30 yards down the field to try to make a block on somebody that lands on SportsCenter, or dive over piles just to hit somebody because he can. That's one of my favorite things about his game, because what that mindset does, and I've talked about this, it puts you in a corner where now you have to, you got to go full bore all game. It elevates whatever you got physically, it elevates all of it, because now you're playing in this heightened fight or flight stage, and you've chosen fight. And just by playing with the physicality that he plays with, it defaults you into basically having to just basically be a guy. I don't know if he's a talker or not, but people are going to be pissed off all game because of how hard he goes. There's a lot of guys that are elite, and they will just get their job done. And if they know you're not going to be even close to the play, they'll kind of let you off. I got my job done. I blocked him. I see him just continuing to clobber guys that are way out of the play, and I love it. It's amazing. It's that kind of mindset that we need on the team. The other thing that I'm really excited about, it's not a slight to his physicality or any of those things. The one thing I think he could improve, and it will naturally happen because he's 21 years old. I made amazing gains from 21 to 22, 22 to 23, 23 to all the way up until probably 26. There was still, the gap gets a little smaller every year, especially if you're like a big weight room guy. But I think he is. He had 30 reps on the bench press at the combine. He had a 32-inch vertical. The dude was 328 pounds, 6'3", 328 pounds. As a center, you don't need to be that big. And so one of the things that I would love to see him develop throughout his career, which he will, he's still going to make strength gains and speed gains and probably physique gains. That sounds weird to say, but I wouldn't mind him losing some weight and just, kind of recompositioning his body a little bit. Because I'll tell you my least favorite center to even think about playing as a linebacker, and almost every linebacker will say the same thing, is Jason Kelce. I know he's retired now, but they do the tight end U. His brother does. Travis does tight end U, and Kittle and all them. Why don't they do a center U and just have Jason Kelce run the entire thing and somehow teach these centers how to get off the ball like he did? I know that's easier said than done because he had physical giftings to be able to do that. Jason Kelce went into the combine. He was the fastest lineman for his year of the combine. He was a 4.8, 940 guy in Indy. 1.7 on the 10-yard split. Those were both best numbers for offensive linemen that year. So he had a great first step already. And he was 280, I think, at the combine, but supposedly played most of his career at like that 295 mark. Not huge guy, 6'2" and change. So I wouldn't mind seeing JPJ come down if that gives him more of a giddy up on that first step. If I were his trainer, man, every offseason I'd have him on a bunch of sleds, a bunch of hill sprints. I would just be working drive phase. You don't need top end speed as an offensive lineman. I doubt they're training that much anyways, but his game could shoot to another world if he got that first step to a place that pisses off every linebacker and makes them scared and makes them, want to try to, they're just going to be watching you on film all week because they're scared about damn, look how he gets off. It's like he's got two steps before anybody else has one, and that is the biggest advantage now that I'm thinking about it as a center. You know exactly better than anybody on the field, including everybody at most is going to have a 0.2 of a second reaction. Like it'd be really good, I think, if you have like 1 or 0.15. So even the quarterback waiting for the snap, you know you're going to snap it right now. You can take that first step. Nobody else knows that but you. So you got to jump. Now, if you have that quickness with the jump and the timing and the angles, again, Jason Kelce could teach all those things. If I were a center, I would try to do anything in my power to get a hold of that guy and learn from him and just fly out and see if, hey, can I get, 30 minutes of your time? Let's walk through some of these things. I just want to get that get off. And then getting the right people around him in the off season. He'll be on the program during the season with the strength and conditioning. But I get really excited thinking about that, about his game. To step in and have that be his first start and the only tape that he's got, legitimately at center, it feels really good to look at. And now the natural development of only being 21 years old, there's going to be some physical stuff there. But if he can surround himself with the right people under the right training, and just do the right things while he's in his prime and the development, the ability to make bigger gains now than he will be later on in his career. He'll be able to sustain those things, but right now is a prime time for him. I get really excited thinking about where the game could go with that. And there was no numbers for JPJ as far as 40 and 10-yard split. And that's kind of an advantage, honestly. If he had hamstring issues, so he didn't run in Indy. We just had the jumps. He had an 8-foot, 8-inch broad jump, 32-inch vertical. Very impressive for 6'3", 328 pounds. But now you don't have a label of being, but he ran 5'3". He's a 5'3" guy. And then he's only going to descend from here on out. There's a lot of guys that ran bad 40s, and we all consider them, 4.55 wide receiver. I mean, it's like the reality was he wasn't a big prospect. He was still developing. He didn't even really train much for the combine stuff, so he didn't have any technique on the drive phase and the steps and the stance and positioning. And really, he was probably, if he was trained well, a 4.4 guy. And then they also keep developing, and you do all this speed work between off seasons, and they're even faster. But people still just view you as that one time that you ran, that one time in Indy, as a 4.55 guy. And then they say, and you're only going to lose a step, so he only started this fast, and blah, blah, blah. It's narratives. Narratives are too strong in the NFL, and so he gets to avoid that, and he gets to create the new narrative of what he is if he creates that first step in a Jason Kelce manner. I'm telling you, that is more disruptive to a defense than I think a lot of people realize. Anyways, JPJ, doing it the Raider way. And I'm excited for him. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you watch his snaps, and what'd you think? Raider Nation.